I'm a Protestant. I'm very proud of it. Presbyterian, to be exact.
I'm Presbyterian. Boy, that's down the middle of the road, folks, in all fairness.
You think you know Donald Trump, but have you heard his latest message to Christians? The words themselves are shocking, but the hidden meaning, that's what will send chills down your spine. They don't want you to see this. Trump's secret address to Christian leaders was leaked, and what he says will change how you see America and the forces working against it. His presidency, marked by unorthodox approaches and polarizing policies, has left an indelible mark on the nation's fabric. Well, it is not just his political maneuvers that have captured the public's attention. Donald Trump's outspoken messages to the Christian community have sparked a blend of surprise, controversy, and intense debate. Among the most striking aspects of his discourse is the claim of a profound connection with the divine. Trump has openly declared, "I have a great relationship with God," a proclamation that resonates deeply within the evangelical community and beyond. This claim to divine favor is not merely a casual remark, but a cornerstone of Trump's appeal to a significant segment of the American populace. His influence among evangelical Christians cannot be understated. It stems not only from his policy decisions, but also from his personal assertions of faith. Trump's tenure has been characterized by a series of campaigns and public declarations that intertwine his political ambitions with spiritual undertones. Perhaps most memorable is his slogan, "Make America Great Again," which, while primarily political, has also been imbued with a certain messianic zeal by some of his followers. Even more telling was his bold assertion that our country needs a savior right now, and that's not me. That's somebody much higher up than me, much higher up. This eloquent declaration of faith and acknowledgement of a higher power than the presidency itself has left many pondering the depth and sincerity of Trump's religious convictions. But the question is, what Trump did good for Christians? Donald Trump, during his presidency from 2017 to 2021, took several actions that were viewed positively by many in the Christian community, particularly among evangelical Christians. Here are some key areas where Trump's policies and actions were seen as beneficial for Christians. Judicial appointments. Trump appointed 3 Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, who are considered to have conservative judicial philosophies. These appointments were seen as victories for Christians who prioritized issues like religious freedom and pro-life policies. The appointments have the potential to shape U.S. law in a manner consistent with conservative Christian values for decades. Religious freedom. The Trump administration prioritized religious freedom, both domestically and internationally. Domestically, Trump signed an executive order aimed at allowing churches and other religious organizations to become more active politically while still retaining their tax-exempt status. Internationally, his administration made efforts to protect religious minorities, including Christians facing persecution in other countries. Pro-life policies. Trump was vocal in his opposition to abortion and took several steps to support the pro-life movement. He reinstated and expanded the Mexico City policy, also known as the Global Gag Rule, which bars international organizations that receive U.S. funding from providing or promoting abortions. He also spoke at the March for Life, becoming the first sitting president to do so, which was seen as a strong show of support for the pro-life cause. Israel and the Middle East. Trump's foreign policy decisions, including recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and moving the U.S. embassy there from Tel Aviv, were praised by many Christians, particularly evangelical Christians, who see the state of Israel as fulfilling biblical prophecy. Additionally, his administration brokered the Abraham Accords, normalizing relations between Israel and several Arab nations, which was seen as a step toward peace in the region. Support for Christian education. The Trump administration supported school choice and advocated for policies that benefit private Christian schools and homeschooling. This stance was in line with many Christians who prefer these educational options for their children due to faith-based considerations. Donald Trump's presidency was characterized by an array of bold spiritual declarations that captured the attention of many, particularly within the evangelical community. His assertion that the United States needed a savior, while clarifying that he did not consider himself to be that savior, but rather pointed to somebody much higher up, was a pivotal moment that highlighted his unique approach to intertwining faith with political leadership. This statement, emblematic of Trump's public discourse, was not merely a nod to Christian doctrine, but a strategic affirmation of his role as a facilitator of a greater divine plan, as perceived by some of his followers. Trump's influence in religious circles was bolstered by his frequent references to the life and teachings of Jesus Christ, positioning himself as a champion of Christian values amidst a turbulent socio-political landscape. He often spoke of the transformative power of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, suggesting a parallel between the renewal brought by Christ's sacrifice and the rejuvenation he envisioned for America. Such comparisons were not without controversy, as they blurred the lines between spiritual salvation and national revival, challenging traditional separations of church and state. Trump's tenure was marked by direct appeals to the evangelical base, emphasizing his commitment to protecting religious freedoms and advancing policies aligned with Christian ethics. His administration's efforts to ease restrictions on church political activity and his staunch opposition to abortion were seen as fulfillment of his promises to the religious right, further solidifying his support among evangelical Christians. The terrifying message that Trump delivered to Christians, as some have described it, was multifaceted, combining assurances of divine favor with warnings about the threats to religious liberty and Christian values in contemporary America. This message resonated with many who viewed Trump as a bulwark against secularism and moral decline, even as it sparked debate and criticism from those who questioned the sincerity and implications of his religious rhetoric. Donald Trump's proclaimed faith and its influence on his presidency have been subjects of significant interest and debate. His administration's policies and actions reflected a deliberate alignment with Christian evangelical values, which played a crucial role in shaping his relationship with this key constituency. This alignment was not just superficial, but impacted a range of domestic and international policies that resonated deeply with evangelical Christians and other religious groups supportive of Trump's agenda. One of the hallmarks of Trump's presidency was the vigorous promotion of religious freedoms. This was most notably seen in his 2017 executive order aimed at allowing churches and religious organizations to engage in political campaigning without risking their tax-exempt status. This move was celebrated by many in the evangelical community as a long-overdue correction to what they perceived as restrictions on their free speech rights. Trump's administration also took significant steps to protect religious groups' rights in the workplace and their ability to act in accordance with their beliefs, further cementing his image as a protector of religious freedoms. Trump's impact on the American judiciary was profound, with his appointments of conservative judges seen as a direct nod to evangelical and conservative Christian values. The appointment of justices to the Supreme Court who were perceived as sympathetic to Christian conservative causes, particularly on issues such as abortion and religious liberty, was a pivotal element of Trump's legacy. These appointments have had long-lasting implications, affecting legal battles over abortion, religious rights, and the interpretation of the First Amendment. Support for Israel. During Donald Trump's presidency, Israel found itself at a significant and transformative juncture, marked by a series of historic decisions and shifts in U.S.-Israel relations. Trump's tenure was characterized by a particularly strong alliance between the United States and Israel, with policies and actions that were warmly received by the Israeli government and many of its citizens, albeit with some contention and concern from various international and Palestinian perspectives. One of the hallmark decisions of the Trump administration was the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel in December 2017. This move, fulfilling a promise that had been made by previous U.S. presidents but never enacted, was a significant departure from decades of U.S. policy. It was met with jubilation in Israel, particularly among its leadership, as it was seen as a strong affirmation of Israel's claim to Jerusalem. In May 2018, the U.S. officially moved its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, further cementing this stance. These actions were highly controversial and sparked a wide range of responses globally, with many countries and international bodies expressing concern or condemnation, citing fears of increased tension and violence in the region. Another significant aspect of Trump's impact on Israel was his approach to Israeli-Palestinian relations. His administration unveiled a peace plan known as the Deal of the Century, which proposed solutions to the long-standing conflict. However, the plan was heavily criticized by the Palestinians and many others in the international community for being biased towards Israeli interests, particularly regarding the proposed land swaps and the future status of Jerusalem. The Trump administration also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, a territory captured from Syria in the 1967 Six-Day War and annexed by Israel in 1981, a move that had not been recognized by the international community, including the United States, until then. This decision was another significant shift in U.S. policy and was seen as a political win for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. On the regional front, the Trump administration facilitated the Abraham Accords, a series of normalization agreements between Israel and several Arab countries, including the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco. These agreements were heralded as a groundbreaking achievement, potentially reshaping the Middle East's geopolitical landscape by formalizing diplomatic relations between Israel and a number of its Arab neighbors, thus contributing to a new paradigm of cooperation and economic partnership in the region. Amid his presidency, Donald Trump conveyed what has been characterized by some as a terrifying message to Christians. A message that was both a declaration of unwavering support for Christian values and a stark warning about the threats facing religious freedoms in America. This message, interwoven with Trump's broader religious and political rhetoric, played a pivotal role in rallying evangelical Christian support and shaping the discourse around the intersection of faith and governance in the United States. The essence of Trump's message to Christians was dual. On one hand, it served as an assurance that he was a stalwart defender of Christian values and religious freedoms, committed to protecting the rights of Christians and ensuring their beliefs were respected at the highest levels of government. On the other hand, it was a dire warning that these very freedoms were under unprecedented attack, suggesting that without his leadership, the foundational Christian values underpinning American society were at risk of being eroded. A key component of Trump's message was his use of executive power to address concerns within the Christian community. The 2017 executive order aimed at protecting religious liberty was a case in point, signaling his commitment to safeguarding the rights of religious organizations and individuals. By framing this and similar actions as efforts to fend off attacks on religious freedom, Trump positioned himself as a crucial ally to Christians in a cultural and political battle against secularism. Trump's message was amplified and validated through his engagement with prominent evangelical leaders, who played a crucial role in disseminating his assurances and warnings to the broader Christian community. These leaders, in turn, bolstered Trump's narrative of being a divinely chosen leader tasked with protecting America's Christian heritage, further intensifying the perceived stakes of his presidency for religious freedoms. Critics argued that the portrayal of an existential threat to religious freedoms was exaggerated and served to politicize faith in an unprecedented manner. Furthermore, the alignment with Trump raised questions about the compromise of moral and ethical standards in exchange for political gains and protection. The notion that all events, including political and economic occurrences, unfold according to divine providence is deeply rooted in Christian theology. This perspective holds that God is sovereign over the universe and everything that happens within it, including the realms of politics and economics. From this viewpoint, every event, no matter how significant or trivial, is part of a divine order or plan orchestrated by God for a purpose that may be beyond human understanding. In the Christian context, the belief in God's sovereignty is often derived from biblical passages that assert God's ultimate authority over creation and human history. For example, Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." Similarly, Romans 8:28 states, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." These verses, among others, are interpreted by many Christians to mean that God is actively involved in the world, guiding events according to his will and for the ultimate benefit of those who believe. This belief provides comfort and hope to many believers, especially in times of uncertainty or turmoil. It suggests that despite the apparent chaos or suffering in the world, there is an underlying divine order and purpose to events. This perspective encourages Christians to trust in God's plan, even when faced with challenges or situations that seem inexplicable or unjust from a human standpoint. The concept of divine providence does not negate the importance of human free will and responsibility in the Christian tradition. Christians are encouraged to actively engage with the world, make moral choices, and work towards justice and the common good, all while recognizing that ultimate outcomes are in God's hands. This dual emphasis on divine sovereignty and human agency is a key aspect of Christian theology, reflecting a belief in a God who is both transcendent and immanently involved in the world. Donald Trump has been compared to figures from the Bible, like King Cyrus, by some of his supporters. They believe that just as God chose Cyrus for a special role, God chose Trump to lead the United States for a specific reason. King Cyrus was a Persian king who, despite not being Jewish, was seen as a liberator by the Jewish people because he allowed them to return to Israel from exile. Similarly, some of Trump's followers see him as a modern-day Cyrus who, although he may not fit the traditional mold of a religious leader, is used by God to accomplish certain goals. Why this comparison matters. This comparison is important for a couple of reasons. Impact on American politics. When people believe a leader is chosen by God, it can change the way politics work. It might make some people support the leader more strongly, feeling that opposing him is like opposing God's plan. This can make political debates more intense, as it adds a layer of religious belief to the usual political opinions. Effects on Christian beliefs. For Christianity, saying that a political leader is chosen by God like a biblical figure is a big deal. It mixes religion with politics in a way that can make people see political issues as religious ones. This can change how Christians think about their faith and how it should influence their political choices. In simple terms, comparing Trump to figures like King Cyrus has made people look at politics and religion in new ways. It's made some people more passionate about supporting him, believing he has a God-given role in America's future. But it's also started a lot of discussions about the relationship between a person's faith and their political beliefs. He made decisions and signed orders that matched what many Christians believed and cared about. Let's talk about a few of these actions and why they were significant for religious folks. 1. Supporting religious freedom. Trump made it a point to support the right of people to follow their religion without facing problems. For example, he signed something called an executive order that made it easier for churches and religious groups to talk about politics without getting into trouble. This was a big deal for many religious people because they felt it protected their freedom to express their beliefs. 2. Choosing. Judges Trump picked judges for the courts who shared many of the same ideas as conservative Christians, especially on topics like abortion and the rights of religious people. This was important because judges can make decisions that affect the whole country for a long time. Many Christians saw this as a way to make sure their values were represented in the law. Why these actions matter? All these actions matter because they show how Trump's presidency was closely tied to religious beliefs and values. For many Christians, these actions were signs that Trump was working to protect and support their way of life and their freedom to practice their religion. This made many religious people support him strongly. Donald Trump's way of talking about his faith and actions stirred up a lot of discussions, especially among Christians. This conversation focuses on two big ideas in Christianity: faith, what you believe, and works, what you do because of your beliefs. Let's break down how Trump's words fit into this debate and why it matters. Trump often said he had a strong relationship with God, but also made comments that surprised some people. For example, he mentioned not asking for forgiveness, which is a bit unusual because asking for forgiveness is a common practice in Christianity. It's about admitting mistakes and wanting to do better. Trump's approach to faith, focusing more on belief and less on traditional religious practices, raised questions about what it means to live a Christian life. On the other hand, Trump took actions that many Christians saw as good deeds, like supporting religious freedom and standing up for Christian values in government. This brings up the works part of the faith versus works discussion. Some people appreciated what Trump did more than what he said about his personal faith. They saw his actions as helping protect and promote Christianity in the public square. The debate about faith and works is important because it touches on deep questions about what it means to be a good Christian. Does it matter more what you say you believe or what you do because of those beliefs? Trump's presidency made many people think more about these questions. For some, Trump's actions showed he was on the side of Christians, even if his personal faith statements were sometimes confusing. For others, the way he talked about faith and forgiveness was troubling. What does Israeli think about Trump? Israel's view of Donald Trump during his presidency was significantly positive, especially among those on the political right and within conservative circles. Trump's policies and actions, which aligned closely with key Israeli interests, garnered him substantial support within the country. One of the major actions by Trump that resonated positively with many Israelis was his decision to move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. This move fulfilled a long-standing request of the Israeli right and was seen as a strong affirmation of Israel's claims to the city. Moreover, Trump's opposition to the Iranian nuclear deal and his administration's overall tough stance on Iran were also highly appreciated by many in Israel, considering Iran's adversarial relationship with Israel. Trump's support in Israel was not just from the political leadership, but also found a base among the general population, particularly those with right-wing views. His straightforward approach and direct support for Israeli sovereignty over contested territories, such as the Golan Heights, played well with a segment of the Israeli public who felt that Trump's policies were in Israel's national interest. His administration's success in brokering the Abraham Accords, which normalized relations between Israel and several Arab countries, was also seen as a significant achievement that contributed to Israel's security and diplomatic standing. It's noteworthy that Trump's candidature and presidency were seen more favorably in Israel than in many other parts of the world. This support was partly due to a perception that Trump's Republican affiliation naturally aligned him more closely with Israeli interests, especially compared to Democratic candidates perceived as less favorable to Israel. The positive coverage in Israeli media, including among conservative and even ultra-Orthodox outlets, highlighted aspects of Trump's policies and personal connections to Judaism through his family, which further endeared him to certain segments of the Israeli population. The unique political and security challenges facing Israel meant that Trump's actions, which reinforced U.S. support for Israel's strategic and territorial claims, were particularly well received. Trump's policies have favored the development of domestic energy sources, including fossil fuels, as a means to achieve energy independence and support job creation in the energy sector. This approach might continue, potentially leading to lower energy prices and reduced reliance on foreign oil. Regulatory reform. A continuation of efforts to reduce regulatory burdens on businesses could be seen, which supporters argue would enhance economic growth and innovation by making it easier for businesses to operate and expand. Support for Israel and Middle Eastern policies. Trump's strong support for Israel and his administration's success in brokering normalization agreements between Israel and several Arab states could continue to influence U.S. policy in the Middle East, potentially leading to further diplomatic achievements in the region. Healthcare policies. While specifics are uncertain, Trump has indicated a desire to replace the Affordable Care Act with a new healthcare plan that would potentially lower costs and increase competition among insurers. And that's all for this video. Hit that subscribe button for more amazing videos like this.